Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne. I'm an inspirational speaker, poet, and author of this fantastic book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. Today is Wednesday, the 25th of November, 2020, and it is, in fact, the International Day for the elimination of violence against women and girls. It is the beginning of 16 days of activism to raise awareness of this campaign, which ends on the 10th of December, which is Human Rights Day. I'm new to this conversation. I've recently started speaking about my journey and my experience with childhood sexual abuse after being silent for 30 years. Imagine, 30 years is a really long time to hold in all of that stuff. And, I've reached a place in my life after a lot of, work on myself to be able to reach this point where I can openly speak my truth about this difficult subject. Now, over the next 16 days, I am going to be doing a video every single day as part of this action, this activism, this campaign for 16 days. And some of what I might say, let's put that trigger warning out there right now. Some of what I will be saying is going to be triggering. Okay, but I want you to lean in and listen, because it's hugely important to not shy away from these difficult subjects. We are all together in these struggles. I guess we don't actually realize who is together with us in these struggles until we actually share our truth. So it's hugely, hugely, hugely important for me to be doing this work. It is my first year talking about this, and it's difficult. I'm embracing it. So definitely lean in to what I'm saying every day. I will be posting a video every single day for the next 16 days. So brace yourselves. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne, inspirational speaker and poet, also author of this poetry book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. Today is Thursday, the 26th of November, 2020. And you're watching these videos that I'm putting together every day as part of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Now, yesterday, I basically introduced this thing to say that I'm going to be speaking about my personal journey with childhood sexual abuse. 16 Days of Activism started in 1991 in America, and it has gone on to become this global campaign where people get together to raise awareness of this hugely important issue. There's lots of statistics out there that have found that over a lifetime, 1 in 3 women will experience gender-based violence, sexual violence. And that's staggering, that goes to show that this is actually a human rights issue. So I'm going to be talking about my personal experience with childhood sexual abuse. Like, I'm drilling down rather than, talking about all sexual violence. I'm more tailoring this to my journey and my experience in order to raise awareness of it from my perspective, adding my voice to the conversation. And it's really important to talk about it definitely, especially in the Black community. I think, you know, a lot of these issues are swept under the carpet, and it's important for us to talk about it. I'm not proclaiming to be any sort of specialist or expert in this field, having just joined the conversation after being silent for so long. But I am an expert in my truth and my journey and my story. So before we delve into my journey specifically, I just want to read what like child sexual abuse is, what sexual abuse is. And this is from the nspcc.org.uk website. So what is sexual abuse? So sexual abuse is when a child or young person is sexually abused. They're forced or tricked into sexual activities. They may not understand that what's happening is abuse or that it's wrong. And they might be afraid to tell someone. Sexual abuse can happen anywhere, and it can happen in person or online. They go on to say it's never a child's fault they were sexually abused. It's important to make sure children know this. I thought for a long time it was my fault. But we'll go into that. We'll go into that later on in these series of videos. There's two types of sexual abuse. There's contact and non-contact abuse. And contact abuse is where an abuser makes physical contact with a child. This includes sexual touching of any part of the child's body, whether they're clothed or not, using a body part or object to rape or penetrate a child, forcing a child to take part in sexual activities, making a child undress or touch someone else. Contact abuse can include touching, kissing, and oral sex. Sexual abuse isn't just penetrative. Non-contact abuse is where a child is abused without being touched by the abuser. This can be in person or online and includes exposing or flashing, showing pornography, exposing a child to sexual acts, making them masturbate, forcing a child to make, view, or share child abuse images or videos, making viewing or disturbing child abuse images or videos, forcing a child to take part in sexual activities or conversations online or through a smartphone. Wow, that was quite difficult to read. That was quite difficult because it's very hard-hitting stuff, this subject. So yeah, I just wanted to sort of like narrow these conversations down, start off with an explanation about what sexual abuse is. And from what I've read and learn about, that it's more about, when I say learn about, this is all self-taught reading on Google. It's more about control. It's more about control. And yeah, there are devastating impacts of childhood sexual abuse, but we will go into that in a later video. So yeah, I will see you tomorrow with another one. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne, inspirational speaker, poet, and author of this fantastic poetry book, Charred. Today is Friday, the 27th of November. It's day 3 of the 16 Days of Activism against Gender-Based Violence campaign that is going on all around the world right now. My contribution is basically to create a video series specifically focusing on childhood sexual abuse. It's important to note as well that although we're focused on gender-based violence, like, it's important to note that boys do get abused too. Like, let's not overlook the number of boys who are being sexually abused as well, because sometimes it could be so like off the top of your head, you're thinking, you know, protect our girls, protect our girls, protect our girls. But we need to protect our boys too. It's really, really, really important. I cannot stress that enough. So let's start off with some statistics. 70% of abusers are somebody who the child knows outside of their family, and 30% is somebody who is within their family. I'm not sure how accurate these statistics are. I do get some statistics from the Office of National Statistics and other places where I've researched on Google, but the reason why I don't know how accurate these statistics are is because there's a lot of underreporting that goes on when it comes to childhood sexual abuse. There are many reasons why underreporting happens, and I guess I'll cover that in another video later on in this series. But yeah, my abuser was my mum's husband. So he was known to the family. He was in the family. That was her husband, you know. I grew up in Jamaica. I went there when I was 1. I came back to the UK when I was 7. And, you know, I lived with my grandparents in Jamaica. But my mum came out there often to visit us. And she met this guy, my abuser, who I've named in my book, in one of my poems. She met him in Jamaica. The abuse started in Jamaica. She brought us back to the UK, sent for him to come to the UK, and the abuse continued whilst in the UK. And yeah, it's, oh my gosh, it's really difficult. It's really difficult, but I can do this. I can do this. I am doing this. I'm speaking my truth to inspire, because it encourages people, you know. It encourages people to speak out about things that have happened, you know. These atrocities are happening all over the world, you know. Children everywhere are being sexually abused, everywhere. You know, sexual abuse does not discriminate by, you know, class or socio-economic status or anything like that, you know, religion. Like, it happens everywhere. Don't think that because you're in a religious family or you come from a religious family that it doesn't happen in your family. That is not true. It happens absolutely everywhere. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne, inspirational speaker, poet, and author of this brutally honest poetry book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. Today is day 4 of the 16 Days of Activism against gender-based violence campaign that is happening all over the world. It is Saturday, the 28th of November 2020. And yeah, the series that I have created to talk about my experience of childhood sexual abuse and to raise awareness of this deeply troubling issue continues. Today, I want to talk to you about lockdown, you know, lockdown 1.0, 2.0, whatever, lockdown, yeah? This coronavirus lockdown. Initially, when it started in March, like, all I could think about is all of those children who are stuck indoors with their abuser. All of those children who are being looked after by their abuser. You know, when you think about child abuse and children being abused, like, the abuser takes opportunities to abuse these children. And all right, let's think about people who didn't get furloughed. Okay, let's talk about people who didn't get furloughed. They may have had to ask somebody, a friend or neighbor or somebody, out of desperation to look after their children or child while they have to go to work. They had no choice but to go to work. So, you know, unknowingly potentially putting their children at risk. Let's talk about siblings having to share bedrooms, small spaces. Because remember, when we think about abusers, don't just focus your mind on thinking about, you know, sleazy men in raincoats lurking around the bushes. Like, don't think about abusers like that. Think about abusers as opportunists, as people who take advantage of vulnerable people, vulnerable children. So I had loads of sleepless nights thinking about that. Like, I feel grateful that I've got a supportive partner, Jermaine, who I'm able to speak to every day and like sound off to or cry to, or, you know, just be emotional and vulnerable around, you know, somebody who actually listens to what I have to say. I think that's hugely important, to have support, because this situation is really it's really difficult. It is really difficult on all levels. And those are just two examples that I just mentioned to you about, you know, the possibilities of how and when and all of that the abuse can occur. But there's loads of scenarios. There's absolutely loads of scenarios. So during that difficult time, during lockdown, and it's still difficult now, because I think about these things constantly, not just because I'm talking about it, not because of this 16 days of activism, but because of my past experience, you know. So during lockdown, I decided to write a poem called Child Abuse. So I'm going to read this poem. It's called Child Abuse, from my book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. All children are precious. Their little hearts, body and minds are precious. To the ones whose innocence were taken away from an early age, I hear you. It happened to me too. I believe you. What happens in the dark, in the night, or at any time will eventually come to light. It takes time. Young child, what can we do right now to help you? You probably don't have all the words to articulate what's happening to you. It's child abuse. It's disgusting. It sickens my stomach to know that you are hurting. At 5, my fragile body was scarred. I empathize and know that what you are going through right now is hard. Those people who hurt us make life more challenging for us. I can't make any promises to you, but what I can say is that life doesn't have to be this hard. Though it will be hard to find people to trust. This situation is extremely tough. The pandemic is taking its toll on all of us in different ways. I wish I could save you. We all need to look deep inside to see what's happening behind closed doors. For me, it happened at home. That the place that's meant to be safe and secure was the place my virginity was taken away. Young child, I want to help you. So many barriers prevent us from helping you. Someone needs to save you. It doesn't matter what anyone in your future says. You are brave. Courage comes in many forms. You are courageous. Something needs to be done to help you now. But how? How? I don't know. I don't have the answers. Like, I'm doing these videos to raise awareness. But this is hard. This is really, really hard. But yeah, join me tomorrow for another one, because I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop this, no matter how difficult it is. I'm not going to stop this, because it's important, and I know that it's important. So join me tomorrow for another one. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne. I'm an inspirational speaker and poet, also author of this deeply troubling but inspirational book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. Today is Sunday, the 29th of November, 2020. It's day 5 of the 16 Days of Activism campaign that's happening all over the world. It's also day 5 of my video series that I've created, which talks about the different stages of abuse and also my personal journey with childhood sexual abuse. The plan for today was to talk about why it's difficult for children to disclose, and even for adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse to disclose. You know, I had this, plan, but life always, not always, but most of the time doesn't go according to plan, does it? And I think one of the things that I've learned over the years is to adapt to change. Like, life, it seems to go a bit more smoothly when I can be a bit more flexible and adapt to change. And, so in this video, I'm going to talk about yesterday. Okay. Yesterday, you saw that I read my poem Child Abuse, because I was reflecting on the children who are being abused during this coronavirus pandemic, because I was saying that abusers are opportunists and blah, blah, blah. And I read my poem and fucking hell, whoops, sorry, I shouldn't be swearing, but I got emotional because I don't think I'm as far along in the journey as I actually think I am, I know that I've come a long way. I know I've come a long way, because to be able to do these video shows, I've come a long way. But I know I've come a long way even more so because when that recording ended, I was crying my eyes out. I was crying. I was crying so much because I was crying not only for myself, but all of those children. Like, I got so emotional about it and was crying. And I didn't realize it would affect me that much because after the video, the reason why I quickly rushed the video is because I had planned to go for a walk with my neighbour straight after. But I didn't realize that I was going to be triggered by the video and then still have to go for the walk. So I know that I've come a long way because I did go for that walk. I went with my neighbour. We walked around the whole of Walthamstow Marshes. We walked all the way around Springfield Park. We walked and walked for 2 hours and we spoke. And also, what I'm going to cover in this video series is about self-care and what I do for self-care. And one of the things I do for self-care is to spend time in nature. And yesterday we walked. We walked. And we were talking about it as well. I said, I recognise that I've come a long way because had it been years ago and that happened, I would have just quickly gone on the phone or texted and said, I'm really sorry, neighbour, something's come up. I can't come out today. I can't go for that walk that we had planned. We planned this for a whole week. And I would have let that person down and I would have just gone back into bed and put the covers over my head and I would have just stayed there for God knows how long. Yeah, because that hit me deep. Man. And so having done that, I recognized how far I've come. Yeah, that I was able to just not pull myself together, because I don't like that term, but I was able to just cry, and then wash my face, reapply my makeup, and like just shake myself, and then go and meet her to go for that walk. Yeah, so yeah, I was really proud of myself. I also recognize as well in that video and on this journey that I'm still affected by this. Just because I'm speaking my truth, it doesn't mean that I'm speaking my truth and running off into the sunset and everything's fine and dandy. That is so far from the truth. Like, as I'm researching and learning and reading and delving deep and talking about my journey, it's almost like it's re-traumatizing me. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist or a healthcare professional or anything like that, but I do feel re-traumatized by this. But I'm also willing to carry on because I'm resilient, I'm courageous, I'm determined, I'm all of those things. But I also recognize when it's time to take a break. So like I said, self-care tips and things that I do are coming up later on in the video series. This is only day 5 and we've got 16 days to get through. So yeah, I also want to just, show gratitude for those of you who contacted me afterwards. You watched the video and contacted me, even this morning, contacted me to like say, I saw your video, like, you're so brave, you're so strong, keep going, but also take time for self as well. It's really important to reflect and take time for self. So I appreciate every single one of you, I really, really do. This is tough, but we will move on. We'll move forward. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow. Also, it is Sunday. I'm giving myself a break today. Giving myself a day off. Well, not really. It's hard to give myself a day off, innit? This is my life. I live this existence. Survivors don't just have a day off, This thing that we've been through will be with us for the rest of our lives. And I recognize that. It's just that we find ways and coping mechanisms to manage ourselves, because the world still happens. Life still happens. So we have to put on a brave face and face the world, even when times are shit. So, and that's life. That is life. But yeah, thanks again for tuning into these videos. I know it's difficult to watch, especially if you are one of those people who are watching every single day. It's tough. It is really tough. I get it, but it's important. So I'll see you tomorrow in another video. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne, inspirational speaker, poet and author of this poetry book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. Today is day 6 of the 16 Days of Activism campaign against gender-based violence. It's Monday, the 30th of November, 2020. It's also day 6 of me covering these videos that I've created, this video series, to raise awareness, particularly about childhood sexual abuse, and sharing my personal experience of it as well. So today I'm going to be reading some information from the thinkyouknow.co.uk website, covering some of the reasons why children don't disclose while they're being abused at the time, why they don't tell their parents or anyone. So it starts off by saying 1 in 3 children who are sexually abused don't tell anyone at the time, and there may be many reasons why. Understanding these barriers can help you support your child if you find out they've been abused. If your child didn't tell you about the abuse or delayed in telling you, this is normal, and it's likely to be for one or more of the following reasons. They have felt ashamed or embarrassed. They weren't sure how to talk about it or couldn't find a space to. Or they were worried about how other people may respond and what was going to happen if they did disclose it. So it goes on to list things that they may have thought at the time, that the child may have thought at the time. So because it's kind of like in speech bubbles. I'm going to read it as it says, yeah? So the child may have thought, I might be seen as different. This is going to cause problems in my family, community, or school. I may be taken away from the home. I don't want the police or social services involved in my life. Well, I guess it depends on the child, innit? Because some young children, a lot of young children ain't going to know about social services. But yeah, these are the list of things they may have thought. I don't want the abuser to get in trouble because of feelings of loyalty, love, fear, etc. I'm going to be blamed. Images will be found which I'm embarrassed about. I won't be believed. I know that the not being believed is very, very common. From other sites that I've read, the not being believed is very common. For me, from my personal experience, I didn't have that issue. The way that my abuse was disclosed, or how it basically ended when I was 10 years old, is that my mom went out the house and then came back into the house. So it was in the morning, I was 10, my brother was 11. It was the time when I'm still in primary school, he's just started secondary school, and my mum's working from in the morning. So my brother's gone to school, to his secondary school. This is like the first year of, us not going to school together, because we went to the same primary school. And now he's gone to secondary school, his new secondary school. Mum's gone off to work like she normally does in the morning. And then I'm left at home with the abuser until it was my time to leave to go to school. And yeah, for whatever reason, I don't know why Mum decided to turn back when she left the house, but she turned back and she witnessed for herself the abuse, going on in her bedroom. So yes, it was quite graphic, it was quite deep, quite traumatizing, but my mom did the right thing. That's one thing I can say about that woman. She did the right thing at the time. She called the police. He was arrested. Social services was involved. And at the time, she did the right thing. I've recognized that I am fortunate that that's the decision she made, because I don't want to swear on it, but there may be some parents out there that may have been in the same situation where they've seen or they know the abuse is going on, and it's their husband, and they're like, gonna protect their husband. Yeah. So my issues with my mom at the moment, and for a lot of the issues that we've had in our lives, is what proceeded afterwards. The fact that she visited him in prison, the fact that she blamed me for ruining her marriage, the fact that she accepted gifts from him, and the fact that when he left prison, he was seen in her car close to where we lived, and we had to move house. So we moved house. So yeah, those are the issues that have been like a major barrier between our mother and daughter relationship over the years. It has been really, really difficult. It's been difficult. And it's also been difficult because it's not only was it traumatizing for her and traumatizing for me, and the way she responded afterwards was also very bizarre. The fact is, we spent years not talking about it. We spent years not talking about it because it was too difficult for her to talk about. We also spent years just dealing with me and my difficult behavior at school. So I'll talk about in this series like how the abuse sort of like acts out in the children as their, you know, certain behaviors or things they may display when they're at school and stuff like that. So I'll talk about that later on in the series of these videos. But it also goes on to say, I won't be taken seriously, or he or she is going to hurt or embarrass me or my family or someone else. It says, we know from the research that a supportive response from parents is one of the most important things that can help a child recover and put the abuse behind them. So, yeah, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. It's a lot to have to process and unpick and talk about. But I think doing these videos are useful. It's useful for me, but it's also useful in terms of getting the information out there. There's lots of other barriers why people don't disclose. I know that in some families, the family is usually more important the family is more concerned about what other members of the family may think. And there's just so much involved. There is so much involved. Like, this situation is just hard to unpick, because although every circumstance is different, it is different. It really is. That's why it's just so difficult to get a hold on, you know. There's also some other statistics that I read on another website, but I don't really want to quote the statistics because I haven't got the website in front of me right now. But even when the survivors of abuse are adults and they disclose this information, it's like it's their word against the perpetrator. So I'm not sure how much the percentage is, but the perpetrator doesn't get prosecuted for their crimes, especially if the abuse has been reported later on, like years later, because there's a lot of people who go for years and years without disclosing that this has ever happened to them, and they've just found coping mechanisms in their life to actually just get on with their life. But it's difficult. But I will definitely see you tomorrow with another one of these videos. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's difficult to watch these and hear me speak about these topics, but it is hugely important. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne, inspirational speaker, poet, and author of this fantastic book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. So today is Tuesday, the 1st of December 2020, and it is day 7 of my 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence video series. And today I'm going to be talking about spotting the signs that a child may be being abused. So, like I said, I am not a healthcare professional, psychologist, specialist. I haven't been trained in childhood sexual abuse. A lot of what I tell you is my personal experience and also things that I've found on some trusted sources online. So I've created these video series just to inspire you to speak your truth if this has happened to you. And also, if you're a parent or caregiver, then this might not be on your radar. But as soon as you've watched my videos, you're like, okay, you're more vigilant, you know. Because I'm guessing that a lot of us who have been through it are the ones who are like hyper vigilant and hypersensitive to this subject. Whereas if you haven't been affected by it, you may not think about it. But if you have children or look after children, it's important that you know that these things happen. Because if you don't work for social services, or you're not a teacher or anything, you're not in that profession, then this subject doesn't really come up for you. So these videos are really to raise awareness and inspire as well. So let's get to it. So on the NHS.UK website, that's the National Health Service website in the UK, I found what are the signs that a child is being sexually abused. So it says, children often do not talk about sexual abuse because they think it's their fault, or they've been convinced by their abuser that it is normal or a special secret. Children may also be bribed or threatened by their abuser, or told they'll not be believed. A child who is being sexually abused may care for their abuser and worry about getting them into trouble. Here are some of the signs you may notice. So you may notice changes in behaviour. A child may start being aggressive, withdrawn, clingy, have difficulty sleeping, have regular nightmares, or start wetting the bed. You might notice that they're avoiding the abuser. The child may dislike or seem afraid of a particular person and try to avoid spending alone time with them. Also, the other bullet point is sexually inappropriate behaviour. Children who have been abused may behave in a sexually inappropriate way or use sexually explicit language. I wanted to cover something actually on this topic, on this particular bullet point. It was brought to my attention that services tend to overlook black girls in adolescence and teenage years because we are seen to be over-sexualized. Like, you know, I'm not even sure what that means, but I'm telling you, if a child is like dancing in a provocative way, or it doesn't matter where they come from, you know, as black people, I can speak for myself, yeah, as a black woman and coming from black culture, we are very creative, we're very musical, we're very vibesy, you know, we got vibes, we got energy, and we like dancing. That's one of the ways that we express ourselves. So don't assume, if you're watching this from a professional services thing, get that out of your head that young black girls in particular are over-sexualized and they dance in that particular way anyway, because that is just so problematic. That is so problematic, because it could mean that a whole section of our society is being overlooked because of certain stereotypes or assumptions, and that is dangerous. There could be a whole section of girls just being missed because of that. So yeah, fix that up, man. I thought I would say that. The next bullet point, staying on that bullet point, if you see a child, no matter where they come from, dance in a provocative way, ask them, like, you know, who taught you to dance like that? You know, say it in a friendly way. Like, don't, like, oh my God, why are you dancing like that? No, like, approach it in a sensitive, sort of like soft approach. Find out where they've learned to dance like that, because you don't know what they're being exposed to or what they're seeing. So don't jump to conclusions or jump to assumptions or anything like that. Ask or try and find out and investigate. Don't just ignore. So the next thing is that physical problems. The child may develop health problems, including soreness in the genital and anal areas, or sexually transmitted infections, or they may even become pregnant. Like, the next bullet point says they may experience problems at school, An abused child may have difficulty concentrating and learning, and their grades may start to drop. I was bright in school, you know, believe it or not, I was bright in school. Like, I left school with no GCSEs whatsoever, not even one. Although I've done well in my later life and I've caught up with myself and, you know, achieved the necessary things to get by, I couldn't concentrate at school. I had major problems. I had things on my mind that were way bigger than anything. And I think what kind of slipped through the net for me was that it's not like it wasn't picked up for me because they didn't investigate. They knew, because social services were in my life. The primary school and secondary school that I went to, they know my history. Like, they know that, you know, I'm troubled, you know, that happened to me in my childhood. So if it almost excuses my behavior. So it's like I felt like I was overlooked, which meant that I was just doing anything. I was sexually promiscuous. I was smoking cigarettes at the age of 13. Like, anyways, we'll talk about how this plays out, you know, we'll talk about the psychological, the emotional, the physical impacts of abuse later on in the series. Wow, there's so much to cover over these 16 days. So yeah. So problems at school. Also, the next one, giving clues. Children may also drop hints and clues that the abuse is happening without revealing it outright. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that as well. We'll talk about appropriate use of language when talking to children about their body parts. We'll cover that in another video later on in this series. I think that's what they mean by giving clues. I'm not sure. But children are children, you know. When children are being abused, a lot of children don't even know it's wrong, you know. Children are very impressionable. You know, you could tell children anything and they'll believe you, you know. And that's why abusers are so dangerous. That's why they're so dangerous. And yeah, this is just mind-blowing. This whole topic is mind-blowing. But yes, thank you so much for continuing to watch these videos. If you're watching every day, or if you've just dropped in and noticed that I'm doing this, you can go back to day 1, which started this is day 7. So yeah, day 1 started 7 days ago. This is part of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, and this is me sharing my experience of childhood sexual abuse and also spreading some awareness with knowledge. So yeah, catch me again tomorrow. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne, inspirational speaker, poet and author of this hugely triggering but highly inspirational poetry book, Charred. A survivor speaks her truth to inspire. Today is day 8 of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence campaign that is going on all around the world. It started on the 25th of November and finishes on the 10th of December, which is also Human Rights Day. It's also day 8 of this video series that I've created to focus on childhood sexual abuse in particular, and sharing my journey along the way. Did I say it's Wednesday, the 2nd of December, 2020? I don't know. Either way, I've said it now. But yeah, today I'm going to talk to you about the importance of teaching children the appropriate and correct names for their body parts. Yeah. It's really important to teach children that their private parts are private. They're their parts, you know. But calling it a coochie or a cupcake or a wee or wee, I think even willy is quite problematic, to be honest. Because I think people find it embarrassing, don't they? Like to call the private parts the correct names. It's funny, but it's not funny because when it comes to child abuse in particular, it's really important. It's important because by the child knowing the correct names of their body parts, so calling a penis, calling a vagina, you know, breasts, anus, like calling the names that what they are from an early age, yeah, is really important. That could save that child a lifetime of trauma. Yeah, because think about this, yeah, let this sink in a little bit. Say a child, I don't know, say a child came and said, so and so touched my cupcake. Like, you might not necessarily think that a cupcake is their vagina. Do you know what I mean? You might not think that that's what they're talking about. You might just think, oh, it's just a cupcake. But they may be telling you something. And whereas if they come to you and said, so and so touched my vagina, or so and so touched my penis, you'd be like, you know exactly what they're saying because they know their body parts because you've taught them. And it's just important. And the reason why I'm calling the abuser so-and-so is because remember earlier on in this series, I said to you that the abuser could be anybody. It could be their family, their relative, their immediate family, their external family, distant family. It could be a sibling, because children are abusers too. And that's also like mind-boggling, because if children are abusing other children, it means that that child is probably being abused as well. So just let that sink in for a minute. Abusers could also be a teacher, someone in a religious place. It could be, they could be a sports coach. Like, I'm just thinking of like just how to let it sink in that an abuser could be anybody in society. It could be anybody. That person could be anybody. Because remember I said, don't think about abusers as some guy in a rain mac hiding in the bush outside a school. That's just not, take that image out of your mind. Abusers could look like that, but in general, they could be anybody. So it's really important to teach children the appropriate names of their body parts so that they know. Have the conversation the same way you would teach a child, you know, like what their eyes are, what their nose are, what their ears are, you know. It's the same way that you should teach your children the correct names for their private parts. You know, my daughter's 18 now, believe it or not. Yes, she is 18 years old, and from she could speak, because of my experience, from she could speak, I used to say to her, you know, did anyone touch you here, here, or here? You know, she knew the correct terminology. She knew. Whenever she went anywhere, like, I would ask her, like, you know, me and her dad got divorced, and she went to stay with her dad in the summertime and stuff like that. Not just summer, other times of the year, like all school holidays. And we'd have the conversation before she left, and we'd have the conversation again when she came back. Not immediately as she walked through the door, but I approached the situation in a sensitive way to open that dialogue, you know, so that we can actually communicate. Children need to feel like they feel comfortable to be able to openly speak. We need to give them that freedom of expression. That's really important. And just not be embarrassed. Not be embarrassed about body parts, and definitely not let them feel embarrassed about their body parts either. Because I'm telling you, if we're not getting this right, it means more and more people are being abused and having a lifetime of trauma. Like, let that sink in. Let that sink in. Tomorrow, join me for another video. Not going to tell you what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, but I've planned the series day by day. So yes, tomorrow we'll meet again. Take care. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne, inspirational speaker and poet, and author of this poetry book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. So today is Thursday, the 3rd of December 2020, and it's also day 9 of my video series where I talk about my experience with childhood sexual abuse to raise awareness, basically, as part of the 16 Days of Activism campaign that is happening right now. So in these videos, so they started on the 25th of November. I started off with letting you know what I'm doing. So I started off with an introduction. On day 2, I basically explained what sexual abuse is. Day 3, I talked about who the abusers are. Day 4, I read my poem, Child Abuse, which I wrote during the first lockdown, coronavirus pandemic lockdown. And then day 5, I reflected on the emotional response I had to that video, because I thought that was important. Day 6 was about the barriers to children disclosing. Day 7 was about spotting the signs of child abuse, and I read from the nhs.uk website. Yesterday was about the importance of teaching children to use anatomical names to describe their body parts. So using the correct names to describe their body parts. So this video is basically a recap of what we've discussed so far. I've got my plan all scribbled down here. It's more, think of these videos as like a PowerPoint presentation in video form. That's basically how I've structured it. So later on in the series, we'll be talking about the physical, emotional, psychological and practical impacts of child abuse. I'll be talking about how writing has helped me to basically not heal from my journey, but like it's helped in the process. It's helped immensely. Quite a long way. I've got a long way to go, but I've also come a long way. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not saying that I'm fully cured or anything like that. Like I'm just healed or anything like that. I'm just saying that writing has helped me. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah, what else will I talk about? I don't want to give you too much because I do want you to keep watching. Like what services and charities are out there and how to report. I'll be talking about that. I'll also be talking about what I do for self-care. I think that's really, really important. That's an important topic. So stay tuned while I continue this video series. But before I end this particular video, I want to leave you with a poem from my book. This poem is called Umpteen Years and Counting. These 39 years have not been bliss. Most days it's been hit and miss, to be honest. Life taking the proverbial piss. Things and time changes, various ranges, people and places. Life comes and goes in different stages. 39 chapters in the same book. I'm so open, take a look. Not just on the cover, the pages inside, the writing, the binding, front and back. Until I decide to give myself the sack. Believe me, I've contemplated it several times. Cries for help, failed attempts, more cries for help. Yet I'm still here trying to survive, maintaining the people and things that keep me alive. At times, I want to die, breathe my very last breath, flatten out my chest so I can take a very long rest. What looks rosy on the outside has deep-rooted scars on the inside. And let's face it, we'll carry those scars for the rest of our lives. So yeah, that was my poem. Umpteen years and counting. I'll be back tomorrow with another video as part of this series. Hi, I'm Andreena, Leeanne, inspirational speaker and poet, also author of this impactful poetry book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. Today is Friday, the 4th of December. It is also day 10 of 16 Days of Activism, day 10 of my video series where I talk about how childhood sexual abuse has impacted me and also raise awareness of what childhood sexual abuse is. So in this video today, I'm going to talk to you about the impacts, the psychological, physical, emotional and practical impacts of that sexual violence has on the survivor. I'm not going to talk about all of them because I think it's just a lot to list all of them. But I think today I'm going to focus on the physical and emotional impacts. So the physical impacts are panic attacks, sleep problems, impaired bodily functions, physical pain, self-harm, eating disorders, substance misuse, death, suicide, pregnancy, infertility, running away from home, prostitution, sexually transmitted diseases, developmental difficulties, sexual difficulties, for example, pain during intercourse and addiction. Wow, those are a list of the physical impacts. There's probably more, to be fair. This information has been taken from, there was an event, it was a violence against women and girls training program event that I went to at the beginning of this year in my borough, in the borough that I live in, Waltham Forest. And this is the handout, this is taken from the handout that we were given on that day. So those are the physical impacts. I could definitely identify with some of those. And the emotional impacts are feelings of anger, rage, grief, sadness, fear, guilt, shame, feelings of worthlessness, confusion, hopelessness, despair, emotional numbing, isolation, difficulties with trust, difficulties forming or sustaining friendships, relationships, anxiety, hypervigilance, self-perception as a victim, feeling damaged, low self-esteem, wanting to kill yourself, feeling undeserving of support, and also a sense of loss. Those are the lists. Wow. I could definitely relate to some of those. Definitely relate to some of those. Tomorrow, I think I'll continue this video with the psychological impacts and the practical impacts. But yeah, All of these impacts, though, are influenced by the duration of the abuse, the frequency of the abuse, the relationship to the abuser, the sex and age of the abuser, the type of sexual act, the age when the abuse started, like force, violence, is impacted by the effects of disclosure. Like, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. I know it feels like I've rushed through this video, but yeah, it's a lot. I'm having to process all of what I'm saying as well, which is almost taking its toll, but I'm okay. I can say that I'm okay for now. I don't know if I'll ever be okay, let's be honest, but I'm okay. I'm feeling okay. So tomorrow I'll be back with another one. Hi, I'm Andreena, Leeanne, inspirational speaker and poet, author of this inspirational poetry book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. Today is Saturday, the 5th of December, and it's also day 11 of the 16 Days of Activism against gender-based violence campaign, which is happening all around the world. It happens every year from the 25th of November to the 10th of December, which is Human Rights Day. This 16 Days of Activism has been going on since, I think, 1992. And lots of people around the world are making noise about this issue because it's a quite a big issue. You know, women are disproportionately affected by sexual violence and abuse and all sorts of discrimination. Yesterday, I spoke to you about the physical and emotional impacts of abuse and sexual violence. Today, I'm talking about the psychological and practical impacts. I couldn't cover all of them in one video. I felt like because these videos are bringing up stuff for me, I just need to check in on myself, you know, and check in on the impact that this is having on me. I recognize that some of the psychological, the emotional, the physical, all of these impacts are things that I relate to. Not all of them, because the abuse affects people differently, but I have been impacted by a lot of them that I read yesterday. So the information, I'll just reiterate that I am not a healthcare professional. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a counsellor. I am not in any of those professions. However, I am qualified to speak my truth about my experience with childhood sexual abuse, which is why I'm sharing these videos for these 16 days. The information that I gather and I bring towards these videos or bring forward for these videos are information that I get on trusted websites. The impacts that I'm talking about has come from this handout presentation from an event that I attended earlier on in the year. It was in February. It was a violence against women and girls training program. It was delivered by the program manager for Waltham Forest. And it was a really informative day, actually. I learned a lot. I've only started talking about my experience with abuse after being silent about it for so long, you know. And it has been difficult talking about it. But what I've realized is in being able to share my truth, other people have been sharing theirs as well. So how powerful is that? You know, how impactful is that? How inspirational is that? That's just, wow. It's deeply troubling how many of us have been affected by this issue. But the more people that speak about this and share their truth and their journey and all of that, is the more it kind of inspires other people to talk about it, which means that the perpetrators of these atrocities will have to sit back and think, actually, maybe I'm not going to abuse this person or whatever, because more and more people are talking about it. It's highlighted. They're more likely to get caught or found out if people are more vigilant that these things happen. Do you know what I mean? I think I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I think you get what I'm trying to say here. The more that this thing is highlighted, the more the perpetrators have something to worry about, because we're here and we're speaking our truth. And speaking our truth is not it's not for the faint-hearted. Like, honestly, there are implications to speaking your truth, because speaking your truth usually involves other people. Other people are involved in your truth speaking, and they may not like what you have to say, or their version of events might be different to yours, or your stuff, what you're saying, might highlight their stuff or negatively impact on them. However, I've been saying since I started sharing my truth, I would rather be honest and have one person around me than to continue living a lie and holding all of this stuff in and have it affect me. You know, I have felt a sense of freedom since speaking my truth. However, it hasn't been easy, and there are various people who don't like it. But that's not going to stop me from speaking my truth, because this is important that we raise awareness of these deeply troubling issues. And I'm not going to allow anybody, whether or not they gave birth to me or not, I'm not going to allow anybody to silence me. Yeah, I'm not going to allow anybody to silence me. So let's carry on with this video. I'm upbeat today. I went for a walk yesterday, and just, yeah, I'll talk about self-care later on in another video. But the psychological impacts that affect survivors are obsessive compulsive disorders, visual sensation disturbances, disassociation, flashbacks, phobias, depression, nightmares, waking dreams, repressing memories, perfectionism, and post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm not going to elaborate on what these things are, because I'm just merely listing them. All the information's out there on the internet if you wanted to look into this further. But these are how we're impacted by these atrocities that happen, and this thing just stays with us forever. We just find different ways of coping and managing it along the way. The practical impacts are difficulties with medical visits or procedures, difficulties going into certain situations or locations, educational and occupational, difficulty coping with daily life, and it also says need stroke desire to move out of the area. Also, practical impacts are homelessness, under or over achievement, problems at school or work, loss of status or income, and limited choices. Yeah. Limited choices. What do they mean by that? I'm not sure about that one. These impacts, the other slide goes on to say that these impacts are influenced by the duration of the abuse, the frequency of the abuse, the relationship to the abuser, the sex and age of the abuser, the type of sexual act, the age at onset, force and violence, and effects of disclosure. So, yeah, there's a lot to look into there, isn't it? A lot to look into. But yeah, join me tomorrow for another one of these impactful videos. Hi, I'm Andreena, Leeanne, inspirational speaker and poet. Today is Sunday, the 6th of December 2020. It's also day 12 of the 16 Days of Activism campaign against gender-based violence. I forgot to say that I'm author of this fantastic and hugely inspirational poetry book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. I was just getting ready for bed and I thought, I felt like there was something missing. I was like, I know there's something I was supposed to do today that I haven't done. What is it? What is it? And then I remembered, I was like, darn it, I haven't done my video. So in this video, I would like to just reiterate the importance of speaking to your children from an early age. Create an environment where your children can come to you if anything's happening in their world. Create an environment where they feel like they can come to you. And yeah, it is really important to build rapport with your children, have open conversations with them. Obviously, you're going to be a bit tactful, innit? You can't be like, you got to approach it gently. But if your children feel comfortable that they can speak to you about certain things, then you should be able to spot if anything untoward is going on in their life, you know. I know I just made that sound easy, but I know it's not. I know it's not easy. But I think it's really important just to build an open relationship with your children. A relationship where they feel like they're not going to get in trouble, you know, if they come and talk to you about certain things. And when certain things are going on in a child's life, remember, they don't know that it's wrong or anything because they're children. Children are innocent. But if you open up rapport and dialogue with them and create an environment where they feel comfortable to come and talk to you about anything, you never know. They could come and talk to you about absolutely anything. And yeah, that's what I thought I would do this video about. It's nearly midnight here in the UK. It's nearly midnight and I almost forgot my video, but I will be back tomorrow with another one. Thank you so much for watching. I know these conversations are difficult to have. I know these videos are difficult to watch, but they are hugely important. I cannot stress that enough. But I will see you tomorrow. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne, inspirational speaker and poet, also author of this inspirational poetry book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. Today is Monday, the 7th of December, 2020. It's day 13 of the 16 Days of Activism against gender-based violence that is going on all around the world. It's also day 13 of my video series. Excuse that noise in the background. It's my neighbour drilling, I think. Today, I'm going to talk about reporting. Now, I'm going to read from this government UK website, specifically explains how to report child abuse. And it says, if you're worried that a child or young person is at risk or being abused, contact a children's social care team at their local council. You'll be asked details. You'll be asked for your details, but you can choose not to share them. So you can report anonymously. You can call 999 if the child's at immediate risk. If it's not an emergency, you can report the crime online or call 101. It says calls to 999 and 101 are free. It also goes on to say that you don't need to be sure that a child or young person has been abused. It's okay to report a suspicion. And I guess that's quite important to know, isn't it? Like, it's better to safeguard a child by, if you think there's something going on, it's better to be safe than sorry, innit? That's what I'm getting from this. So it says, what happens when you report it? The person who answers your call will decide what to do. For example, they might gather more information. They might ask a social worker to look into it. They might contact the police if they think the child is at immediate risk or a crime has been committed. The children's social care team will tell you what happens next, but they'll not be able to give you any confidential information. So that's come from the Direct.gov website. I'd like to also add as well that if a child does come to you and lets you know that, you know, something is happening with them, reassure them, you know, just reassure them and thank them for coming to tell you. I think that's really important to mention. Yeah. Reporting. I think I'm struggling to add my bit to the conversation here, because like I said to you in the beginning of this video series, the way that my mom found out that I was being sexually abused is that she witnessed for herself. She basically saw for herself her husband. So she did the right thing at the time and called the police. So she reported it based on what she saw. So I'm not really too sure on the reporting side of things. So I feel like I'm not really doing this video much justice reading from the gov.uk website. But I have mentioned as well that I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a counsellor. I am raising awareness of these issues. But the main important thing about reporting is that if you suspect a child may be in danger or at risk, report it. And you can report anonymously as well. It's better to be safe than sorry. It's better to be safe than sorry. But yeah, more information can probably be found on the Direct.gov website. There's not really much information there, but there's more maybe information on reporting that can be found on the NSPCC website. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. And I think tomorrow I'll be talking about different services and organisations who are involved in this type of work. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne, inspirational speaker and poet, also author of this inspirational book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. Today is day 14 of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence that is happening worldwide right now. It's also day 14 of this video series that I have created to raise awareness of childhood sexual abuse by also sharing some statistics and facts and figures, and also my journey, my experience as well thrown in. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the organisations and charities and services that are out there doing great work to support people who have been affected by sexual abuse. It's great that these services exist, but we also need to deal with it at the source, you know. That's why there's so many people talking about this, and we need to continue talking about this to raise awareness. Yeah, we need to raise awareness more. These subjects need to not be taboo in certain families, because the more we speak about our experiences, the more we're able to protect more children and young people from these atrocities. So there are various sexual abuse referral centres around the UK. So these services that I'm talking about are specifically UK based, because that's where I'm based, in the UK. But you can find any of these details on the internet, on Google. So the NSPCC, who I've mentioned as well several times during this video series. They're the UK's leading charity specialising in child protection and the prevention of cruelty to children. There's also victim support. And all of these numbers are free as well. A lot of them offer a 24-hour service. There's also the Survivors Trust. There's Survivors UK as well. So Survivors Trust basically focuses on women who have been victims and survivors of sexual abuse. But the Survivors UK is specifically for men who have been affected by these issues as well. So also in my book, Charred, I thought it was important to list some of the services in here as well, because some of my poems, not all of them are about abuse, but they're all about my things that have personally happened to me, you know. So I speak about all sorts: homelessness, relationships, life, you know, a lot of the things that I've been through. And I felt like I had a duty of care to the readers to list useful contacts, because if they're triggered by something I've said or wrote or whatever, then I've given them a source of where to contact, you know. Because sometimes when you're in distress as well, you don't necessarily think, oh, you know, I'm going to go to Google and search. So I just, easy access at the back of the book, the last 2 pages. I also listed 1 in 4. So 1 in 4 UK, they're based in South London. They support people who have experienced childhood sexual abuse and trauma. And there's also Haven. The Haven provides services up and down the UK as well. So all the information of who to contact is on Google. If you just Google, I don't know, like child abuse support, or even on Facebook, you know, I've seen lots of people supporting each other through Facebook groups. And yeah, there's lots of help and support out there. Definitely, there's definitely lots of help and support. A lot of these services, they could offer counselling as well. There's another one that's called Ashiana Network as well. They're quite good. There's lots of organisations and charities that are doing fantastic work. And I guess that with all of us working together, we can keep raising awareness of this deeply troubling issue that affects everybody. Everybody is affected. Remember in the earlier series, the earlier videos, I did mention that abuse affects people. It doesn't matter their gender, their race, their class, their sexuality, their religion, their socio-economic status. It doesn't matter any of that. Abusers are everywhere. So it's good to know that there are services that we can contact, and there are people who have devoted their time to helping others, and that's really beautiful to see. So I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne, inspirational speaker and poet, author of this inspirational book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. Today is Wednesday, the 9th of December, 2020. It's day 15 of the 16 Days of Activism campaign that's going on all around the world right now. And it's also day 15 of my video series. This is the first time I'm adding my voice to the conversation, this conversation specifically about activism in this area, although it's about gender-based violence specifically, because women are disproportionately affected by sexual violence and gender-based violence, I've tailored this video series about childhood sexual abuse, mainly because the statistics shows that it's 1 in 4 women and girls, and 1 in 6 boys are affected by sexual abuse. So I'm here sharing my story, and today I would like to talk to you about what I do for self-care, because talking about this is hugely not draining, but emotionally taxing. That's what it is. It's emotionally taxing, because I speak about these issues from my personal point of view, from my personal experience. So, you know, I did mention in the previous video that I feel like I'm being sort of like re-traumatized when I talk about this, and I think I found it particularly hard doing this because it's 16 days consecutively, you know, it's like back to back to back, and I've had to read lots about this subject to be able to put these videos together. And I didn't realize how impacted I'd be by it, you know. So today I want to talk to you about some of the things I do for self-care. I've developed lots of techniques for self-care because I've had to parent myself. I've had to be both a mother and father to myself over these, I shouldn't say 39 years, but I mean like in my adult years, let's say, in my adult years, you know, I'm nearly 40, and half of that time I have spent parenting myself. So I've had to find techniques and ways of getting through life, you know. I've had some destructive behaviors in the past. However, I feel like I have evolved and matured and learned to be with myself, you know, and also with the support of people along the way who have been in my life, been a positive influence in my life. I've reached a point now where I feel quite comfortable with myself. I do. So today I am going to go through some of these notes on self-care. So yesterday I said to you that I put useful contacts in the book because it's not usually put in a poetry book, is it? Useful contacts of services and stuff. And neither is this page, you know, on page 97, notes on self-care. But I felt it was important because many of the people who read my book and resonate with my stuff, and also people who have known me for a long time but always see me looking happy-go-lucky and stuff, and I always seem to be smiling, you know. I thought I would put a bit of my sauce in there, you know, put like what I do for self-care. And yeah, sometimes self-care might be seen as selfish, but that's okay. You know, you have one self, you know, you're one person, you're put on this planet Earth for a reason. And if you don't take care of yourself first, then who's going to take care of you? That's what I've learned. That's what I've learned over these 39 years. So yes, this is my notes on self-care. So I treat myself. It's in no particular order, but I do from time to time treat myself to nice little treats that I like. Pamper myself. Like a few days ago I went and had a pedicure, because I just like to feel nice, you know. I practice gratitude, so I'm always grateful I'm just always grateful for life. Like, I always look at, you know, my cup being half full as opposed to half empty. I smiled because I remembered that when I said that to somebody, they told me that they read somewhere that someone said, there's some well-known person said they're just grateful to have a cup. And I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, I'm present. Be present. Yeah, I do tend to live in the moment. I make time to relax. I create quiet time so that I could be in my own mind. I used to hate sitting by myself and hate being by myself. I used to hate it. I used to hate having time to think, because I would start thinking about all that stuff in the past. And now I've got to a space where I can sit with myself and I can meditate and think and reason with my own thoughts and things, you know. I play my hand pan, so that's my beautiful instrument. I should show it to you. Look, there we go. That is a hand pan. It is huge. Oh, it is absolutely massive, but I love it. And I think the neighbours like it as well. I drink water, I sleep, I rest, I smile. I always find things to smile about. Breathe deeply. Yeah, that's something that I've learned through like meditation and stuff, like deep breathing techniques. That seems to just make me feel good and calms me. Visit nature. So even during this video series, I have visited nature several times. Like, I've gone for long walks. There was one particular time where I went for a 3-hour walk. Well, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, give or take half an hour. Take time out. Yes, I've had to take time out. Set boundaries. Set boundaries. I guess what I mean by setting boundaries is knowing when to say no. When, like, stop being a yes person. Like, I used to be a yes person. Anyone says to me, oh, let's go here, let's go there, let's go there. I'm like, okay. Now I'm just like, no, I'm making time for myself. I don't even have to explain, to be honest. I'm just like, no, don't feel like going out today. Speak kindly to myself. Yes, I do speak kindly to myself. I've had to catch myself, you know, certain times when I've said to myself, oh, look at my belly and look at my bingo wings in this. And I'm like, I have to stop that. I have to look at myself and be, you know, Andreena, speak kindly to yourself. Be nice. So that's one of the things I do. Affirmations. Yeah. Affirmations. I tell myself I'm beautiful every day. And I believe it as well. Because over time, I've believed it. You know, these things have all taken work. I'm telling you. I reflect on my achievements. Yes, definitely. I've come a very long way. I have come a long way. And yeah, I do reflect on my achievements. Every single year, I have a paper diary and I list my achievements for that year at the back, so I can, yeah, reflect on my achievements. Exactly what it says. Compliment myself. Yeah, that's the same as speaking kindly to myself. Love myself, relax in baths, connect with friends. It's important because I've had an issue with trust for a long time, with people and who to trust and stuff like that. Yeah. So connecting with friends, I'm fortunate to have close friends and chosen family, and I feel very grateful. I write as well. Writing has helped me. I've even left a few lined pages in the book for reflections so that the reader can also write if they're not doing so already, you know. And writing doesn't have to be, I always say, you don't have to be Shakespeare to write, you know. You can write whatever you like in a style that feels comfortable to you. So yeah, I think that's quite nice. Writing has hugely changed my life. Even though I found it in February 2014 and it's only been 6 years, it's huge. Writing has hugely changed my life. Yeah, digital detox. Yes, take time away from social media. It's really healthy, definitely. Social media detox as well. What else have I got here? Declutter. Yes, I do. I find that if my head's all over the place, like I'm just in complete mess around me. So when I'm messy, I tend to just like sort it out and declutter. Get rid of the things that I don't need. Gift them to somebody else. Pass them on to charity. Is it Marie Kondo that says about things bringing joy? If it no longer brings joy, find a new home for it. Yeah, I do that, and that's helped as well. And I think declutter, when I talk about declutter, I'm also talking about decluttering my mind as well, I think. Yeah. Ask for help is the last one. I never used to ask for help, ever. Never used to ask for help. I used to be very stubborn. And now I ask for help, not all the time, but if I recognize where I need help, I'm not afraid to ask for help. And that's really important. It's really important, asking for help. So yeah, those are all of my notes on self-care. I'll also read the back of my book as well. It's also the foreword. I've put it in the foreword as well. There's a strong correlation between childhood trauma and mental health issues. I suffer with PTSD and depression and use poetry to write honestly about the multitude of issues I have experienced in my 39 years. I have found writing to be hugely therapeutic. While I recognize the value of professional therapy, my poetry has helped me to come to terms with some of these issues. If they're not already doing so, I hope to inspire the readers of this book to speak and write their truth. We don't have to be qualified writers to write down how we feel. Honesty is the only qualification for this kind of work, and we don't have to share it unless we want to. This collection is called Charred. Think of a piece of wood that has been exposed to the flames. You may think of it as damaged, and it's true, it has been burnt and blackened, but it's still resilient and much stronger after going through this process. Think of me, Andreena Leeanne, as a piece of charred wood. So I'm going to end this video with the sound of my handpan. I will see you tomorrow for the final day of this video series. It's Human Rights Day tomorrow, and I wrap up this entire series of 16 days of activism. Thank you so much for watching. If you've been watching every day or dropping in and out to watch, thank you so much for being on this 16-day journey with me. See you tomorrow. Hi, I'm Andreena Leeanne, inspirational speaker and poet, also author of this poetry book, Charred, A Survivor Speaks Her Truth to Inspire. Today is Thursday, the 10th of December 2020. It's Human Rights Day. It's also day 16 of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Some people call it 16 days of action. This activism campaign goes on every single year and runs from the 25th of November to the 10th of December every single year. It started in 1991. And this is the first time I've added my voice to the conversation. And these 16 days have been hugely insightful. I've been trying to keep up with all the other campaigns that's going on around the world and what other people are doing, adding their voice, all the things that are being shared on Facebook and Instagram to raise awareness of gender-based violence, because women are disproportionately affected by violence in the world. And these video series that I've created was specifically to highlight sexual abuse, childhood sexual abuse in particular, by sharing my story and sharing some information. So I started off on day 1. This is the 16th day. It's the final day. Day 1 was on the 25th of November. I started off with an introduction, and day 2 was about, what is child sexual abuse, and 3 was about abusers. And then each day carried on. I spoke about the pandemic and how children may be affected during this pandemic. I read my child abuse poem, and that child abuse poem triggered an emotional response. I was actually crying by the end of it. So the following day, I basically addressed the emotional response I had to that poem. Day 6 was about the barriers to children disclosing. Day 7, I spoke about spotting the signs of abuse, and read from the NHS UK website. Day 8 was about teaching children the correct names of their body parts. So not calling it cupcake or anything like that. Day 9, since it was like halfway through, I recapped on what was discussed for the first, 8 days. And then day 10, I spoke about the physical and emotional impacts of child abuse. Day 11 was about the psychological and practical impacts of child abuse. Along the way, I was sharing my journey, my truth, the way I've been affected by these things. Day 12, I reiterated the importance of speaking to your children and creating an environment where they can speak to you about anything, opening up that dialogue. Day 13 was about reporting. Day 14 was about, letting you know about the services, the charities and organisations who do this work on a daily basis. Day 15, I spoke to you about self-care, what I do for self-care. What I should have added, which I didn't, was the 2 other things that I guess I have done for self-care during this video series. You may have noticed that none of my videos are edited, and that's because, I don't know, when you edit a video, you have to keep watching it and listening to it and over and over and over. And some of these things that I've been talking about throughout this series have felt like they've re-traumatized me. So that was one of the ways I safeguarded myself, by not editing the videos and just trying to do them in one take. In fact, all of them were done in one take, to be honest, apart from a couple where I messed up the date or forgot what number day it was. So I had to start again at the very, very beginning. But yeah, all of them were more or less done in one take. The other thing about self-care, you may have noticed that I wear army green, I wear combat patterns, and this is almost like my armor, to be honest. When I'm doing this work, I call it work, but it's basically my mission, which, you know, began at the beginning this year, to basically speak my truth about childhood sexual abuse, to empower people to speak about their truth. And yeah, to safeguard myself, or put in a self-care thing for myself. What I decided to do at the very beginning was that every time I'm doing this work, I don't know why I call it work. Work doesn't have to always be paid work, does it? But yeah, I wear this almost like a uniform. So not that, I don't know, not that I ever stop thinking about this, but I can take it off. Like if I'm going to sell my books, or at an event, or if I'm going to speak about a particular subject, especially this subject, I would wear army combat type wear, so that I can, I don't know, when I'm finished, I can take it off. And I found that it's really helped me. It's really helped me, because it's almost like I separate myself from the work, although I am the work. I have decided to do this as my work. I don't know. I found it really helpful. It's not like it's over once I take it off, but I kind of, yeah. I used to do that when I used to go to work, like work 9 to 5. I would always, like, when I come home from work, I'd take off my clothes, I'd have a shower, and I'd put on my house clothes. And that kind of helped me separate home from work. And I guess that's what I've kind of done with this as my uniform. Like, I feel like almost like I'm going to battle, like I'm a soldier in this war, this campaign against these abusers, you know. Yes, I thought I'd mention that, because I forgot to say that yesterday about my self-care. And yeah. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for following these video series. Thank you also to those of you who have contacted me after seeing the video, to either check if I'm okay, or let me know that you're listening and you're supporting and all of that stuff. That really means a lot to me. You can follow me on Instagram at survivor.andreena.leeanne. My book is on Amazon, is on the Waterstones website, the Foils website. I've got an Etsy shop where I'm selling personalized copies, but with that you have to tick the personalization box and put the message that you want me to write in there. If there isn't a message, then it will just be a signed copy. Yeah. What else do I do? I've also got a writing workshop every Friday. The details are on Eventbrite. It's called Speak Your Truth Writing Workshop. It's every Friday from 11 till 12:30, where yeah, we write and share our truth in a safe space. In January, I've also got an open mic starting. It's called Adult Survivors Open Mic. It will be on the second Sunday of every month, and it's on Zoom, and it's for everybody. It's from 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. And Adult Survivors Open Mic is about survivors sharing their story through poetry, spoken word, short story, anyhow you want to share on the open mic. Each person has 5 minutes. And yeah, I found that by sharing my story, it encourages other people to share their story. So the more people that can actually share their story and be able to inspire others to speak their story, I think the world would be such a better place having doing that, because it's really important to know that we're not alone in our struggles. There's a lot of us that, everyone, all of us have been through something, and something that has been traumatic or something that's affected us in some way throughout our lives. And I think by other people hearing what we've been through, it gives them some sort of courage to know that they're not alone in their struggles, you know. And I think that's hugely important. So yeah, thanks again for watching and supporting and being on this journey. Try to take on some of the things that I have said in this video. I'm gonna put the compilation together and post it on my YouTube channel, so that those of you, if you want to watch it back to back, I don't know, if you want to watch them all together in one place, then it's there in one place. I'm gonna do that later today. So yeah, what can I say apart from let me leave you with a beautiful piece of charred wood. And wood, having gone through this charring process, makes it so resilient and strong. Thank you.